Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems. I was out of town last week. Thanks to Josh Ward again for filling in perfectly. But thanks to Safety Systems, I was able to keep an eye on my home right from my smartphone and tablet. You can too. Whether it's your home or your business, no one will give you a better security system or better deal than Safety Systems. Just notice how many businesses around town have that Safety System sticker right on the door, right on the window. Everybody uses them. You should too. Safety Systems. All right, Justin, we're going to have to play a little catch up here, which I hate, but I want to let you give some insights to the fans out there from a coaching perspective in terms of game planning for a bowl, because it's a condensed window. You've got recruiting going on. It's not easy. First question, how many games is Tennessee looking at when it comes to Clemson? They're not going back through all 12 games. They're looking at the last four. They're looking at four biggies. What are they doing?
You're trying to get the most recent, going with the teams. If you're an offensive coach at Tennessee, the teams that most likely are going to play, like Clemson's going to look at teams that played like Tennessee plays. Defensively, you're looking at when Klubnik was the quarterback. That's probably what you're going to look at. Maybe a couple of games if they play like you do defensively. But you really try to boil it down to as minimal as you can to get the most information that you need.
Okay. Are bowl practices more about scheming for a particular team? Like if you're Tennessee right now, are you focused more on Clemson? Or are you having to put it more back on basics, get back to basics?
Back to the basics mostly. You take a look at your opt-out list, you take a look at your injury list or whatever, your transfer list, and say, who do we have? And then what are they going to be able to handle? Because it's more about what can my guys do than what we need to do to the other team. But then once you know who your guys are, you try to add a wrinkle here and there. The basics with a wrinkle maybe that they haven't seen or something you haven't done a lot of, and then you make a game plan out of it.
And next, there's always supposed to be, I referenced it in the tease, there's always supposed to be a gentleman's agreement that inside your conference, you don't speak to the bowl opponent of one of your conference mates. That, for example, ACC coaches shouldn't be talking to Tennessee right now about how to stop Clemson or play against Clemson, and vice versa. That's not real, is it?
A good coach is a good thief. That's something we say a lot in coaching, and there's no honor amongst thieves. So you go back and look at these coaches. They may be in the ACC now. Look at where they've been. They may be in the SEC now. Look at where they've been. It's absolutely being done, and you're really not doing your job if you're not making those calls.
Now, here's my question for you. If, let's say, Tim Banks at Tennessee is reaching out to a defensive coordinator he knows in the ACC, what kind of information is he getting?
What the offensive coordinator wants to do, whether he has his players or not. How does he want to call the game? How does he want to run the ball? How does he want to throw the ball? How does he want to design his shot plays? What gadgets does he like to run? What's he like to do with this down and distance? You're really trying to get a feel for that so that you have a feel for how you want to make your calls in those situations.
And then finally, how much does recruiting, I mean, now that you've got the early signing period right now, you're in the midst of it. How much does that impact what you're able to do in terms of bowl prep?
A ton. You're on the road Monday through Friday. You practice with your guys on Saturday. Your guys are taking finals, and I think it's still supposed to be about education.
Really?
I think. Really? I'm not sure, but I think so. There's a lot going on. So there's only so much you can do.
Which gets back to why a lot of it is back to basics rather than watching a ton of tape on the other team and scheming something out.
Exactly right, because it's just not going to be functional.
All right, Justin, thank you very much. And let me tell you, coming up next week, well, Saturday when we do our Orange Bowl preview, who better to break down what Clemson likes to do offensively, what Clemson likes to do defensively, than a coach who's been going against Clemson the last few years. So Justin's going to be a big part of our Orange Bowl preview. Going to have some great insights for you on that. When we come back, Auburn has hired the SEC's fourth Art Briles disciple. That's 4 teams in the league now, including Tennessee, that have sort of the same DNA, if you will. Is it a good thing or a bad thing for Josh Heupel in Tennessee that more and more of these teams are going to be running some similar stuff? We'll discuss that next. Come on back on the Sports Source.
Away from home? Watch the Sports Source live at WATE.com.